Okay, let's get going. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, June 19th edition of Contributor Experience. My name is Elsie Phillips, and I'll be hosting the call today. Are there any new contributors on the call with us? Hey, Josh.
Hello.
Hi. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Actually, I'm driving. That's why I'll be most of the time a passive listener. My name is Sayam, and I joined the last week's Asia's first that APAC contributes first meeting, and so I had a chat with Ideal Hack. I don't know the name actually. So he told me that there'll be a weekly meeting as well. So I said, okay, why not? Let's join. So I'm driving, but I'll be listening.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. It's great to have you.
Yep.
Okay. We'd like to remind everybody that we have a code of conduct. Please go check it out if you haven't seen it. But the TLDR is please be excellent to each other. Let's move into the regular program updates. Is George on? Not seeing George yet, so we'll come back to him if he joins. Meet our contributors, Paris. Do you want to give us an update there?
Everything's moving along. I'm still behind on documentation for the how to do one, so that we can start having other hosts that are not me. And then I think I'm looking at the calendar right now for July 3rd. I think I'm full. Looks like I'm almost full for July 3rd, but every other month is open. So as always, if anybody on the call would like to help us help hundreds of upstream contributors, let me know. That's it.
Great. Let's jump down to need to know email for chairs and technical leads.
I know that George had something, and again, I know he's not on the call, but the one thing that he had that I know he wanted to discuss with the larger group was SIG updates. We are encountering an issue with SIGs right now, where they just keep bumping. I'm sure plenty of people on the excuse me, on the line right now that have been hosts for the community meeting have encountered SIGs who need to bump for whatever reason, good or bad reason, but it is becoming sort of a burden on us to figure out and juggle at the last minute. So one of the items that is in there now is sort of a kind of a call to action to the chairs to figure out like what would be a better way to work with them on making excuse me, my throat today is not great. Making sure that they're set for their scheduled community meeting update. So that was it that's all we have so far for the need to know. Is there any other bits of information that chairs need to disseminate down to their SIGs this week? Or is there any comments about the SIG updates and the wording that we should use, or how we should follow up with SIGs as far as the community meeting is concerned?
I have thoughts, but I don't know if they're good. So,
well, I mean, the discussion is thoughts of all variety.
So, I think I realized this week that if you don't get into people's calendars, like you don't exist in a lot of places. So, aside from sending specific calendar invites to every SIG lead, I mean, I do believe they have aliases, right? Like we could just start doing that, and if they don't show up, sorry, see you next time, right? Like.
Yeah, I said the same. I said that, I mean, I think almost the same words, Chris. So I'm just +1ing you essentially at this point. It's unfortunate though, because that also adds just then another layer of administrative burden on us.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a way we could figure out to just say, hey, drop it in this column, hit send, and it just there's a formula or something that just sends an email with, copy pasta in it.
Right. Anybody else that's has another idea or comment about either of those things?
Oh, George is here.
Oh, good. George is here. Hold on.
George.
Sorry,
George,
working on my release items.
Okay, we were talking about the stuff that we need to inform the chairs, and I said that the one item that I have is from you about like chairs needing to like try to make the schedule for the community meeting because it's kind of throwing everybody awry when they bump and things like that. Or
Yeah.
not awry, it's the wrong word. Throwing everybody kind of like through a loop trying to figure things out. And then I asked if anybody had any either comments to that or so you literally just came into that conversation right now. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, the way I wanted to pitch it was basically like the way it works out due to the amount of SIGs that we have, it ends up being you give like 4 statuses a year. And then 2 of those you're doing at a KubeCon anyway. So I think we could pitch it not as like, you're going to get in trouble, but like more of a, you know, we schedule these way ahead of time to make it easier for you. And then when you, like, obviously things come up, right? You know, someone has to go on travel or whatever, but like generally speaking, it messes up the entire schedule when, you know, and then it doesn't have to be a chair that gives the thing either. Like I've noticed for a lot of statuses in KubeCon that like the chair sat in the audience and let their junior people do the status to, you know, to give them a chance to do stuff. So just send a representative. I mean, the slide, it's like 4 slides. It's not that much.
Plus 1 to send a rep.
Yeah.
Chris said the calendar thing as well, which is Jeff, I'm sorry, you had a hand up. I'm going to let you go before I even say anything else. Jeff, go.
So me, for example, UI punted, I believe it was last week, because we were going to give the exact same thing we gave 2.5 months ago because it was less than 3 months between updates. We haven't had much traction getting much done. We have a lot in the pipeline, but it's going to be the same thing we gave 2.5 months ago. So we were just like, we'll do it at the end of the summer when we've cut a new release and we have 2 GSOC students done. So that's like a good example of why some people may punt.
Yeah, but that 15 seconds there could have been the status, right?
That's all it takes.
Right, because when they said UI is punting, I was like, oh, they're just not ready. They didn't want to go. I think a status telling people
Do
that
we
not
call
much.
it a stand-up and not an update?
Yeah, if you do it that, I'll be like, I'll come on and talk for 15 seconds. I got no problem talking,
Yeah,
but
just
I
like,
also don't want to bore people with the same stuff. If I can literally just show up and be like, hey guys, we've been really busy the last 2.5 months. If you really want to know our update, look at this community meeting. Here's the link. We're doing the same thing. If the main thing I'm saying is if you make that clear to the chairs, I think you might get more representation, along with you don't need a chair to represent.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because the purpose of that meeting is for people who don't have time to go to every single SIG and just see what's going on with SIG UI. You know, and if the answer is not much has changed in the last 6 months, here's our plan, here's our status from last time, then I think that satisfies the transparency requirement that we're trying to do, right? Like, we're not here to judge how much a SIG is doing. If it's like, we haven't done anything in 6 months, I don't care, as long as you tell everybody, right? From a transparency standpoint, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we care if a SIG isn't accomplishing anything, but not in this meeting. Sorry. I didn't on you, Chris.
Like the point isn't to shame them.
Right. Yeah.
The update is for the community meeting, and that's not always going to be attended by the exact same people update to update, right? Like, that's the idea.
The only thing I will say is for other chairs and just SIGs in general, you might want to make that clear that, hey, if you show up and say not much has changed, that's great too. Just show up. Because otherwise, I mean, everyone's going to punt when they run into that situation.
So I know a lot of them don't read the GitHub documentation that says about the status reports and stuff. So I think what I will do is put it in the template, you know, I'll make it not be like we accomplished nothing, but you know what I'm saying? And then in the snippet, in the notes that we copy over every week, just be like, you know, this is for transparency reasons. If, you know, if you haven't I won't say accomplished anything, but you know, if there's no change to the status since last time, just put there's no change to the status in last time and a link to your notes. And then that should be fine, right?
I almost feel like we could help some people by having a form that automatically generates a set of slides. Like list 5 things that you worked on, that your SIG worked on in the last release. List 5 things that you're going to work on in the next release and have it generate the slides.
Josh, we already do that.
Yeah, we send them the slides. It literally says, fill your 3 things in here.
Yeah.
Sorry for the construction.
You're Paris today.
But I get it. Like I could tell there are some chairs, like I could tell Paul Morey really felt unprepared, even though I felt he gave a great status. The one he gave 2 weeks ago, where he's like walking because he couldn't find an office. He's like walking whatever office he was in. Like I think, we should be able to say, look, if you're keeping good notes, toss your slides in there. And I think he actually prepared. He was like, I might not be able to make it because of this. If I put my slides in there, the host can basically bumble through it, right? Here are the top, hey, this person could make it, but this is the report they send. They don't have to put on a fancy presentation. I think they just need to, if I'm listening and I'm in another SIG and this might affect me, a link to the slides is usually fine, right? Considering for about half of them, they usually get to reuse the ones that they were going to redo for KubeCon, their deep dive or their intro anyway, right? So, okay. So I think what you're trying to say is George is taking an item to update the template and the notes, right?
And
Yes.
was there any consideration around maybe creating a shared calendar and then inviting SIG lead aliases to the scheduled time? So, because I feel like I always hear from chairs, if it's not on my calendar, it didn't happen. And, I say, well, it's up to you to put it on your calendar. And then they say that's kind of a weird transaction.
Yeah. Well, I usually, when I go, I give them a courtesy 2 weeks when it's my time. I say, hey, you're going to go next week.
Yeah.
And I'm
at least Monday morning.
Yeah. And I make them commit.
What about putting it on their SIG calendar directly?
Yeah, seriously. That's what we should say, put this on your SIG calendar.
Yeah. It's just my concern is that
calendar.
we're always kind of moving them though too.
But shared calendars have multiple owners, so there's no one person's responsibility anymore. Meaning if it's on their main, if they're doing the calendar the way that the best practice doc says, they're supposed to have a shared calendar per SIG. If they include the community meeting on their SIG meeting calendar that has the date that they're supposed to do it, and then if they need to reschedule, they reschedule it. I don't know, I'm just thinking about some ways where we can get it in front of people's calendar, on people's calendars in a way that works for all of us.
Yeah.
I like that idea, Paris. I mean, they are SIG leads, right? This is one of those responsibilities, right? I'm sorry, you have to put something on your calendar.
Yeah, I mean, they maintain, one of the things it says maintain, your SIG's calendar. That's what I'm thinking if maybe we give that instruction now with, hey, you see the 3 dates for the next year, why don't you go ahead and put these on your SIG's calendar? And then maybe even that SIG will show up, more SIG members kind of thing. It might increase participation in that way.
Okay, let me write stuff down.
I'm all for pushing responsibility on them until we just cannot anymore safely do that.
Yeah, I've not had anyone say, put this on my calendar for me, because I know exactly how I would respond, and I don't think I've said those words yet. You're a co-chair. You can do it. All right. So I'm updating the community meeting templates. And what else? There was another thing we're doing. Community meeting slide template for 6. Yeah.
Can someone mute Sam?
I did.
Something to say.
Sorry, I thought that was me. Okay, so I'll take on those two items. We have a retro tomorrow, so I think we got some breathing room there.
So you were updating the template, and what was the other one you were taking?
I'm updating the SIG template, the one they actually fill out, to kind of let them know that things are okay, and then the actual template for the community meeting notes, to kind of remind them of the same thing. That way it's in two places for double the amount of maintenance. Okay.
Great. Let's circle back around. Could you give us an update on office hours?
Yep, so that went off fine this week. I need to fix the calendar invite with the new one. We found out the problem we were having. Our Zoom would expire in the middle of the thing. Ends up my old Heptio Zoom is still like in the community calendar. I need to figure out how to delete that, but I think I'm fine with that. I don't think I need help with that yet. But other than that, yeah, 100 people this morning. It was fine. Still need to figure out the afternoon West Coast session, but we're tabling that for now.
Cool. And then could you update us on the community meeting?
Yep, so tomorrow's going to be the retro, so no problem there. And I wanted to add this to the open session, but I'm going on holiday in July and need to find substitutes for people who are going to do
you
that.
want George, so plug me in.
Okay, because we'll need a streamer and then we'll need someone to chase down the host as also being the hosts. So that is going to be, so QCOM hit Shanghai. Okay, so release retro is tomorrow. Jonas is handing it out to release team. Shanghai the week after, so we're not doing it. Then it's Paris. It's going to be Paris, and then this says that's going to be a non-US meeting on July 4th. Did we do this?
Well, why would we do it it's a whole community. Why would we say not US?
No, because usually it would be Ihor hosting it, not anyone who's in the US.
Oh, okay.
And then the week after we have Jonas and Jeff, and then I'll be back on the 25th. So I think what we need to do, Paris, I'm assuming you're going on holiday, is swap out Ihor for Paris on July 4th.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. Yeah, so Josh is saying, doesn't seem like we need to cancel for Shanghai. We usually don't have one when a KubeCon's going on. So I just copy and pasted that from the last few years. But yeah, I do agree. Not that many contributors are there.
It would be interesting, like if China next year, wherever it may end up, right? Like if we did a community meeting, like as like a thing during the event. I don't know what the time off shift is. But that'd be kinda cool.
We could do that, but it would have to be at a very different time. The
Yeah,
normal
like-
meeting time is like 2 in the morning in China.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I remember I think at the time I remember is we wanted to treat KubeCons like KubeCons and not make it look like this KubeCon isn't important, so we're going to keep running our meetings, right? But I don't remember. I don't think we wrote that down.
I think that makes sense to me. Not to treat that KubeCon as like a second class event for us.
And actually, aside from the time shift, there would be other potential problems with trying to host a community meeting from China.
Yeah, never mind. I just realized that too.
Like I actually have not tried Zoom while I'm in China. I don't know whether or not it works.
Hang me when you're there. We'll try it.
I can't get Zoom working in any conference Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter where it is. So
I know several contributors from there have hopped in and joined calls, although they might be using a VPN.
Yeah, I know Yang does, doesn't he?
okay, so moving on. I'm swapping out Paris, Ihor for Paris, week of July 4th, right? Got you.
Yes. Okay. And then that takes us down to, speaking of KubeCon, the Contributor Summit. Any last updates for Shanghai? Jonas, Josh,
There we
or
go.
Paris?
We're, mostly prepared for the Contributor Summit. Still making last minute changes to the new contributor workshop. Otherwise, we'll see how it goes. For people who aren't going and thus aren't aware, we had to change the whole conference schedule like 2 weeks ago because the Chinese government decided that they wanted the conference center on Thursday, and all of a sudden it was not available to the CNCF. So the Contributor Summit will actually be ending at 3 p.m. on Monday. And we're kind of squeezing everything in, as we can there. On the upside, we've had a lot of contributors, particularly Chinese contributors, step forward to lead sessions on various things. We're actually treating the current contributor day a little bit more like what was the 201 track in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. Because based on the feedback we got last year at the new contributor workshop, I think that's kind of what people want. And then we'll see how that goes, and then it'll also inform what we do for San Diego, because I think some things like a local build and test troubleshooting session are going to be of interest at any contributor summit. Beyond that, I don't know. Paris, did we find somebody to actually lead this Contribex intro session?
Yeah, Yang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That guy, Yang, is doing everything these days.
Yang is awesome. I'm doing. I don't know. Well, this is news for everybody in the group, but I booked a Shanghai contributor experience intro a long time ago, thinking like if I couldn't get anybody, I would go and do it. And then if push comes to shove, I thought, I'll just get Josh to do it. He'll be there anyway. But Josh actually has a talk at the same exact time. So like 2 weeks ago, I was scrambling, and then Yang's like, hey, I'm here. I'll do it. So I was like, okay, I'll make a deal. I'll do the deck for you if you do the intro. So Yang's going to do our intro for us.
Nice.
I am totally putting Yang up for a CNCF award this year.
Yeah, I am too. I was actually going to suggest that. No, it's cool. He's just going to do a very brief intro of our sub projects. It's not like it's a little bit of a combo of the intro that we gave in Barcelona, but more like just high level of like what we do, which will hopefully open up for the APAC meeting. And like his job is pretty much recruitment essentially. So cool stuff there. But is that it for Shanghai, Josh? I can't believe that was you can't believe you didn't tell me about the room stuff. Holy, I don't know if anybody saw my face, but I was like, whoa. I was definitely taken back. Anybody have anything for Josh?
Yeah, just a quick update, Josh, on the Harbor box that we talked about earlier this week. We'll have sort of a Harbor box there for new contributor, the new contributor workshop. So I just need to update the URLs because we can't use the same domain name, unfortunately. But I'll just update the URLs and everything, and we will have something there on Monday for you. One of the Harbor core maintainers will be there setting everything up and making sure everything works.
Oh, cool. Can you, I mean, at some point, I guess probably after Shanghai, if you can write up what happened and what we had to do to work around it, because next year we'll probably be doing this again.
Yeah, so I can just tell you, it was an easy import problem. They wouldn't let electronic goods in unless we had a specific certificate for that goods. And that certificate was not available for that specific type of goods, so they had to send it back. So it's actually on the way back. They didn't keep it, which is nice, because that happens every now and then as well. They just throw it away.
So you were shipping it and it wasn't being hand carried in?
Yep, exactly.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so that's why. So we had some issues with customs there, and it's on the way back to me here. If we want to use it in Shanghai next year, either we get proper hardware in China already, and I think we can handle that through the harbor maintainer team, or we will have to hand carry it. But I think going forward, we'll probably have proper hardware there because they do a bunch of stuff around harbor anyway, so we'll keep it there. So that will be easier next year.
Okay. Are there any updates about San Diego?
Yes. We met Monday for our first session. It was largely intros, role conversations. We will definitely have roles available in the upcoming weeks. So if people are interested in hopping on, keep your ears and eyes open for that. But no, we are rolling along with content proposal next week. It will be a targeted meeting for registration discussions as well as shadows, making sure that they're okay with their roles. And then also project management stuff since a lot of people will be in Shanghai. So that's it for San Diego.
Groovy. Okay. We're going to push our normal project issue review to the end of the discussion, and we're going to jump straight into the open mic portion. So I'm going to hand the baton back off to Paris to talk about sub-project meetings and the APAC meetings.
APAC meeting just happened. It was sort of a meta meeting. I hit on it a little bit when we were talking about Yang in the intro. It's if you scroll down on the notes right now, you'll see the APAC meeting. They're talking about what it would take to recruit more people who would be interested in ultimately having an APAC meeting. So that's why I say it's a meta meeting. And they're going to continue to talk until they have some plans, and then essentially ultimately talk about having their own meeting, and get back to how we used to do things. So if you are interested in helping them out, I'm sure they would love that. Sub-project meetings, I sent out the email. I got a lot of +1s, but I did not hear a lot of +1s from some of those specific sub-project owners. So I will be reaching out to those people. And if those people no longer want to do this anymore, that's cool too. So we'll be figuring out a bunch of stuff as it relates to sub-projects within the next couple of weeks. So if you are a sub-project owner listed on that and you have not explicitly +1 or -1, please get a hold of me with your thoughts. And then we also have not started planning any meetings either. So for instance, I would love to see the contributor documentation team, I don't know, either use the non-code meeting as their meeting or come up with another meeting or do like Slack stand-ups. And then every contributor experience call, we can talk about contributor documentation and do a stand-up as to like what blockers are and what people are currently working on and stuff like that. So yeah, watch out for me for the next 2 weeks because that's going to be a priority. That's it.
Great. Moving right along. Review requests. Sadav.
Yep. Hey, no, I just wanted to put it as a gentle reminder that PR is around for some time now, and there are a couple of questions there. So guess we will get time to review it. Mainly, I guess, Paris, Christoph, I'll see if you guys can take a quick look at it. There are a couple, 3 questions from Aaron, from myself. So we can move forward with that triage guidelines for this SIG. So I thought I will just put it there for folks.
Can you review some of the open questions that are still not addressed that you think that we can address now really quick while we're on the phone?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's okay. I just want to see because
sure.
we might be able to button this up now. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Should I share my screen or Elsie, would you?
Go for it.
Okay, perfect. Give me just 1 second. Give me just a second. Yeah. So mainly it's let me share it. Sharing everything. Can you see my screen, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. So mainly some of the things, Paris and everyone, things like milestone, for example, right? So Aaron was more wondering into what does milestone means for country backs. I mean, I had given a link to the milestone in general for for everybody, right? But he was saying that do we have a specific definition for milestone and how people would change the milestone if it's needed, how they decide the milestone, for example. Do we have anything or any write-up, which I didn't find myself anywhere. Similar thing.
To be created.
I'm sorry?
It needs to be created.
Okay, so that was
Exactly.
exactly.
A trailblazer.
So we need to create the definition for ourselves. Okay, yeah. And then I think the same.
We've only done, I think, one milestone. So yeah, we definitely need to come up with the guidance around where we, like where, why, how, and who for a milestone, for sure.
Okay, yep. Okay, perfect. And I think the similar question was some of the other labels, right? So, how do we decide? I think good first topic, it seems like, again, more generic. We already have the definition, I already given a link to him. But so, yeah, let me then work on that. That was the main thing, the milestone aspect. And let me see, doc, the creator or something changing milestone or something. Yeah. So let me work on that, Paris. Again, I think I will need input from you and Christoph and others on what is milestone means to us, right?
And I would just to do that and keep moving and merge and iterate, and let's go. I feel like the most of the doc right now is, from my perspective, just skimming it. I've not done a scrub. I feel like it's okay. I mean, and we're going to build off this. So I feel like anything where we have holes, where we have documents that have not been created, like milestone, just go ahead and put like a to-do in there, and then we can get back to it.
Yeah, that sounds a perfect approach to me, Paris. We just build on top of this with some of the to-dos, right? So, okay. All right, I think that's it then. Let me, I'll move forward with the discussions there, and hopefully we have the initial guidelines in place, right? And we'll build on top of it. So that's it.
I also have some other modifications, but I'm going to work with you offline on it.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. Well, that was great. Thank you. Let me stop sharing then.
Thanks, Adav.
Yep. Thank you.
Bloggers, Paris.
I know Alex is on the phone, or was. I saw a Vanguard at one point. I know Chris is on the phone. We've had quite a few people that have said that they were interested in doing blogging work for us. I want to get that crew formally together in the next couple of weeks. So this is also a shout out to anybody else that's interested. What the deal is the expectation would be once a quarter, you do a blog post on something, not some editorial that we're running or some kind of contributor topic. And editorial topics could be things like close up on special interest groups, putting like human touches to the code, things along those lines. So I wanted to put that out there because this is just another way for us to really talk about the work that our contributors do and get various things out of it, whether it's new contributors, current contributors, what have you. So anybody interested in that kind of thing or know other people that would be interested in that?
I'm interested, and I might know others, but I'd like to know the process a little bit more once we get it hammered out before I invite.
Yeah. I mean, the next step of the process, speaking of trailblazing, is to write the rule books. I did the marketing. I put in the marketing team skeleton into the repo. So I really think the next thing to do is to write down just a kind of a skeleton of what we think a blogger should do. Like I already have a lot of ideas about just like style and tone and stuff like that I'd like to write down. But I feel like one a quarter seems to be doable. What do you think, Chris?
So yeah, like that's where we talk about process, right? Like we need to pick like topics, and we need to come up with like ideas on our own too, right? Like we need to have an idea board where people can just drop ideas and people can pull off the top. I feel like we'd have some people that would easily do 4 or more a quarter, or 4 or more a year.
Yeah.
And there'd be other people that would, you know, struggle to get 4 done a year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that this is super important in just continuing to communicate outward, especially like process changes without necessarily sounding like a change log, putting more humans behind the process, I guess, or in front of the process rather. That's really all I wanted to say about the blogger stuff. Is I really want to kick up this like marketing team concept. I know people cringe when they hear the term marketing team. They immediately think of like events and CNCF, and like, no, it's more about like giving a voice to the people that do the work. So that's it for me.
All right. So that takes us down to the review board, reviewing of issues in our project board section. Paris, did you still want to do this today?
I'm very down with this. Does anybody else have any other open items or open questions or anything that they wanted to discuss with the group? What we wanted to do, we have like at least 100 issues right now in the queue that have no milestone. So what we wanted to do was attempt to assign them either assign them a milestone or assign them a person who can assess the milestone, so that we can start to clear our queue.
Hi.
Hey, Dims.
Hi. So before we go to the 100 items, I wanted to see if we could bring up something which is time critical, which is I had logged an issue for travel support program, whether we could do something, and the CNCF just sent out a tweet about the diversity scholarship stuff. So do we want to do something for San Diego, or should we shelve it for later?
I mean, I feel like we could do like a very basic bare bones something. I mean, we could do like an MVP for San Diego at the very least, and fund, we could come up with a goal of funding, like some small amount if we wanted to do it that way as well, just to see like what works and what doesn't. We should though, who do we like, was there anyone, do we know who creates the diversity form? Because I really wish they could just ask the question on there if they contribute upstream to Kubernetes. Because I feel like that would ease a lot of our pain points.
And I haven't caught up on the issue, but isn't there like a panel or somebody of people that chooses?
Yeah, no, but I'm just talking about somebody that like whoever creates the form.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming
like
that person,
adding a question on that form that says, "Do you upstream contrite?" Or
Well, you still have to go verify that, right? Like I could just check yes, like I'm the best contributor in the world, right? Like
some context here. One of the issues there is like, it's not just Kubernetes specific, right? It could be other CNCF projects too. So we shouldn't put our name in there, but we should definitely have them put in their website that there is this other thing people can apply for as well. But then the other thing is something we haven't defined yet. That's a problem here. So if we can write up something about this is the procedure that where we are going to select people, we could have a similar form to what the CNCF has, with a subset of the questions that they ask, but more tuned towards what we do. So that would be the right thing to do, I think. And the other thing here is that we don't want to collect information and keep it on our own, because then we run into the GDPR, those kinds of things, and maybe let CNCF handle that part. So that's one concern that I had, going to a completely open process where people have to file PRs requesting for travel support or something like that. So, but either way, it's the responsibility of this team, I think, to write up something short if I can help too. But then this would be something that this team would be carrying forward from now on. That's why I want to make sure that whether you want to do something and what we could do in the really short term, because we need to get it going in a week or so, because we need to ask funding for CNCF from CNCF as well. So we'll have to define the procedure and then ask for funding. So 2 steps before we can actually.
I think the easiest way is just to do a form.
Yeah.
And put a form up and collect the interest on the form, promise nothing, and see what kind of interest we even get, period, so that we can have some kind of number that we could present to CNCF that says, like, this is the type of interest that we get. What can we do about it? And then
the interest is good, Paris,
I guess we could put a panel of people together here in contributor experience, and then do the same thing that the diversity panel does, and keep everything as transparent as possible. I feel like for like a turnaround time perspective, I feel like that's our best bet. I don't know if anybody else has any suggestions, just from a quickness. I mean, I have other opinions and suggestions if we didn't have such a quick turnaround time, but
okay.
maybe
So
next year.
So recap, right? So we need like a website or some page where we'll host the link to the form.
Yep.
And then we need the form, and then we'll publish a timeline.
Yep.
And then we'll say we'll have to select a few people from this group here who will actually go vet those applications, right?
Yeah.
So that sounds awesome, but then I do want to ask for a number right away to CNCF, because that is going to take its own sweet time in parallel. But then the information that we gather as to the interest will help for the next event, I think.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's what I mean by that. Like, I think it's good for us to just like cast the net wide to see what the interest is, period, and then go from there. But every one of those actions sounds doable, at least from my perspective. Is anybody on the line? Does anybody on the line either want to lead this, take this, help with this, etc.?
I see George with his hand up.
Yeah, I've done this for distros and OpenStack and stuff. I can help here, Dims. I think I kind of know what you want. I think. Okay. But I've been tied up with the release. Monday, okay for you?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation, but I will hop in and we can talk about things.
Yeah. Okay. Tag me on whatever, and I will get as soon as I get 1.15.
So let's use the issue itself for now.
Okay. Can you toss that somewhere?
Yeah, I put it in the.
Oh, I'll grab it there. Okay. Thank you. Yep. I'll comment in there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Dems.
Thank you. Paris, do you think 15 minutes is enough time to do the triage, or should we punt it to the next meeting?
I'm down to do it with you, and if everybody else wants to take a hike, they can take a hike. But I would love to still try to get through 15 minutes worth of issues. I know everybody else on the call is like, ugh.
Minor announcement before people bail, though. I don't know if you saw it on the steering list that a new SIG is forming. So if you're on GitHub labels and whatnot, heads up. But I think Christoph left. So
what's the SIG?
SIG usability. This is Brendan Burns' thing around.
Oh, this is the UX thing. Okay.
Yeah. It's a very long thread.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
So it's at steering now. So they're not making it yet. I just want to give everyone a heads up because we got to create a bunch of stuff and.
Yeah, this should be we should test and set everything up for them. This should be that test too, by the way. So remember, the idea was to just pretty much set up every tool and service and platform for them, and then just give them the keys to the car instead of asking them to set everything up properly and like all the safety checks and everything.
Yeah, especially the mailing list, I think.
Yeah.
The labels and stuff I'm not worried about. It's the mailing list.
And it's also Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also YouTube. I feel like it's everything that's proprietary is the issue.
This would be a good one to also like just start off right from the beginning with the like splaying automation.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Anything else for the call today before we go into issues? I would love to keep as many of you on to talk about issue triage. But feel free to leave if not. All right, Elsie, you ready to do this? Let's power through it.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. All right. Oh, do you want me to? I'll share my screen if you want.
Okay.
Hold on. Share. All right. This is no milestones. All right. This is actually new. I haven't even seen this one. This looks like a, hold on. Is this a Stack Overflow canned response issue? I think it is, and I'm going to skip it. All right, this is mine. This is my bike shed about help wanted label and new contributor label. I feel like milestone, I'm going to put this in, let's see, August.
I think it should be good for August.
Yeah. What's your guideline? What's our made up guideline reasoning on that? If I were a new issue triage person.
I'd say coming to a conclusion on what we want to do with the label and sort of document.
There was a discussion last Friday in Slack on this. It's a big thread. A couple of things that I gathered from it is I sort of agree with Christoph's. Oh, sorry. Are we on the next issue? I apologize.
No, I'm just triaging away. So you go ahead, keep talking.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to talk or not. If we're having this discussion right now.
Nope,
so,
keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with Christoph on like why do we need a label for opening an issue, right? It like any issue that there is anyway. Sorry, I'm not making. I lost my train of thought. Let me not stop you. Carry on. My bad.
It's okay. You can totally say your piece and also say your piece on the issue too. I don't, and I'm not.
I'll do that.
Yeah, I don't want to get like this will bike shed the whole issue triage process right now. But
I just think that people should just put it on the backlog, and people were reluctant to put it on the backlog because they're like, well, that tells people that it's lower priority for us. And I'm like, yeah, but that is kind of what you're getting at. So you should put it on the backlog.
I guess there's multiple reasons as to why I wanted it. That's just only one of them. I feel like for me personally, my personal take is I talk to a lot of experienced people on a daily basis who want to contribute to Kubernetes, especially in areas of like scalability. And they always say that they look at our labels and like we don't necessarily follow the same like help wanted guidelines that other open source projects do, and that they either get eaten up too quick by new contributors or what have you. So I always say to them, just go look for a help wanted label. And I always get back with something about how it's just like either not used correctly or how what have you. And then also in my personal take, I'm assigned to a ton of issues, right? And all of them I have more than I have all intentions of doing the issue. But if somebody came along and said, hey, I'm experienced in this area and could take it, that's how I work my help wanted label. My help wanted labels are all my issues because I want somebody to come and take it. Like, but they have to be experienced, and I can't do a lot of hand holding. So for me, it's just like a bat signal of, hey, I want somebody to either take this issue from me, help me with this issue, and I can't hand hold you, or something along those lines. And I feel like a lot of the other SIGs, like Network and, for instance, use Help Wanted like that as well. Or I feel like they just kind of use it for like 100 million things, and we just kind of need to draft out what those 100 million things are and figure out like what each one of these mean, essentially. Because the 2 that we have are only for, I guess, people who need mentoring. So what about the rest? So anyway, sorry. So SIG scalability, I just went ahead and put this on milestone for August.